Welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella.
And it's spring and young men's thoughts turn to glove. The Red Sox open up their season April 7th, and we're anxiously waiting to see how they do this season, coming off a pretty solid season last year where they went deep into the American League playoffs but didn't have enough. They have a new acquisition, Trevor Story, who's going to play second base for them. But one wonders whether he's the replacement in waiting for Xander Bogaerts, who has a $20 million a year contract with an opt-out and is a client of Scott Boras. So it's not a question of whether Bogaerts is opting out. He's opting out.
I think you're going to have big-time problems with the pitching staff. Their starters and the relief pitchers. I mean, they've lost just about everybody. Sale's not going to be pitching. I mean, you can't even count on him this year. And we talked about his injuries. I mean, we knew that was going to be coming, 4 or 5 years ago, the way he threw the ball. He's had problems with his side. He's popped something in his side.
Yeah, he had some kind of stress fracture in a rib, and he's got a very expansive delivery, so he puts a lot of stress on not only his arm, because he's had the Tommy John, but into his chest wall. Supposedly he's going to be back in May, but you never know with these things. He's definitely not the guy who's taking performance-enhancing drugs, because he weighs about 170 pounds. So if he's taking them, he's not taking them right.
They have a good lineup. They have a very good lineup, especially the middle of the lineup. I mean, leadoff batter's good. So, I mean, they'll be competitive. But the pitching staff, I can't see them competing with Toronto, the Yankees, or Tampa Bay.
Well, Devers hit his 5th home run of the spring. I don't know what that means. Devers looks like he could walk off the plane and
What are they waiting for to sign him? I mean, that's crazy, because if they lose him, there's a guy you got between 35 and 40 homers a year. He's going to knock in over 100 runs. He's going to hit over 290.
Well, the criticism of Chaim Bloom is that he's got the Tampa Bay mentality. He doesn't want to pay. And now, it's certainly possible that the Fenway Sports Group has become overextended. Obviously, they own the Red Sox, they own Liverpool Soccer, they own the Pittsburgh Penguins. They say they are in search of an NBA franchise. Well, and they own Nesson. The question is, who do they care about? Do they care about the Red Sox, or do they care about their whole financial empire?
Well, you know how bad it's getting for them? They had Maserati's going to be doing some of the games.
Yeah, Maserati's got an odd voice for.
No, but he's been knocking them for years, because it's EEI in their station. You know.
When I think of Maserati, the first thing I think of is he said the Yukon wins don't mean anything because they're only beating girls. It's like, what?
He doesn't know half the time half the time he just talks to talk. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, but to me, they obviously pitching is always a question, because you can never have too much pitching. Guys like Rich Hill are. It's not really fair that you should be able to have a major league salary and get Medicare too.
How old is he?
42. So Hill, we'll see about Pivetta. Michael Walker, he's another guy who's old and maybe over the hill. But I
like some of the young guys, but I don't think they're ready. I mean, they're gonna lose a lot of games because of their pitching.
Well, last year Houck really couldn't get to the third time around in the lineup. He was fine for the first 2 trips, but he didn't have the third pitch to really get people out. He has a sweeping slider and a fastball. I don't know if he's worked on anything in the offseason.
He's talented too.
Yeah.
You wonder about him. Sometimes he looks unhittable.
And Whitlock, they were trying to be cautious with him last year, coming off Tommy John surgery. Luckily, they got him away from the Yankees. But we'll see how it goes.
Is he going to be their closer?
I don't know.
I think he's going to be.
Matt Barnes is. It's a roller coaster ride every time he gets out there. They overused him in the first half, and he fell apart during the second half.
Well, their big thing is they got to root for the Celtics and the Bruins to lose and not go deep into the playoffs, because people are going to be concentrating on that. And although you still get your baseball fans that'll go out for the first game and but they're not going to be selling out after that.
Well, I have a firm rule about never going to a baseball game before May because it's too cold. It's just not fun to go to baseball games in the freezing cold weather to me, any more than it was fun to play as a kid. And I was talking to a baseball guy the other day whom I played with in the Intercity League a million years ago, and he said all of his grandkids play lacrosse now, and lacrosse is a faster game. More things are going on. The thing two things I like about baseball is, one thing is you always see something every day that you never see. You see a ground ball up the middle that hits the second base bag and it's a double.
Well, two things I'm glad about. Both of my grandsons are playing baseball and not lacrosse.
Okay. And the second thing is you can do something else while you watch a baseball game because nothing happens during the game. You can just look up and they'll show you 10 replays. I do look forward to the some rules changes. I want to see the pitch clock. I don't want to see the pitcher stand on the mound for a minute.
That's a key. That's a key to pitch clock. And the pitchers that don't want it, forget about it. They're going to have to follow it because you're going to lose too many fans.
And longer term, I want to see the robot umpire because I want a strike to be the same every time up.
Well, my biggest problem with baseball was the outside corner. I have never ever, in all the years I've been watching baseball, I've never seen an umpire consistent on the outside corner because they can't be. Because they're on the inside shoulder and they see the high pitch and the knees. They can't see the outside corner. They're guessing through experience. Maybe if they had that thing, something calling the outside corner, it would help a lot.
Well, they'll still have an umpire behind the plate because the robot umpire can't call people safer out at home. But in the minors, it works just fine. And what are you going to do? Argue with the computer? It's too bad about that. So.
I think it's just the outside corner myself because they cover the other three.
Well,
spots.
there's another factor too. There's in ball 4, Boughton writes about George Scott being up against Whitey Ford. So Whitey Ford throws the first pitch in the dirt, like a foot outside, and the umpire calls it a strike. So the next pitch is in the dirt, he calls it a strike. The third pitch, Scott swings and misses, and Boughton says, like he had a choice.
I know. So, you see that all the time when I'm watching games. It counts 1-0, and the pitch is like 2 inches outside, and they're calling it a strike. And the batters, instead of being ahead 2-0 and looking for a pitch right down the middle, closer to the middle, now the pitcher can still, pick the outside corner and play with it. Well, what's from the Atlanta Braves? He used to stay outside all the time.
Oh, sure. Greg Maddux and Glavine. They could
unbelievable.
throw the pitch 3 inches outside every time.
Glavine was so bad he made the umpire call those pitches off the corner strikes because the umpire just couldn't keep calling them balls. I mean, he was unbelievable, Glavine.
Right. It would be really hard for them to come back and experience the same success with a robot umpire, that's for sure, especially when they weren't overpowering. Now, it wasn't like Danny Ventura was talking the other day about how he's a head high school sports correspondent for the Herald, and he was saying how he liked to see Koufax and Drysdale pitch. So I was texting him to say that, Walter Alston came out to Drysdale and told him to intentionally walk the guy. So Drysdale hit the guy. He said, "Why should I throw 3 extra pitches?"
Who was the third pitcher that started with Koufax and Drysdale?
Was it Perinoski?
Johnny
Padres?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Once upon a time, pitchers used to pitch 300 or more innings and start 40 games.
Denny McLean.
McLean won 31 games in, was it 68? And Mickey Lolich was his fat sidekick who probably pitched 350 innings.
Well, didn't he win 3 games in the World Series that year?
So for people who love baseball, it's good you can talk about baseball statistics and old time. What are you going to talk about? Oh, Dan Marino threw for 4,212 yards. Like, what? So just don't care.